Hey guys, it's Aaliyah with Open Doors, Open Hearts blog, and today I'm really excited to talk to you about the lime wash paint process that we use for our fireplace makeover. So today I'll talk about the steps that we did to lime wash the stone fireplace, and then I'm also going to share with you the elephant in the room. If you're looking at the stone right now and you watched my previous video where I talked about my ideas and inspiration and the goal that I had in mind for this stone, you're going to quickly notice that this is not at all what I was going for. And so I'm going to talk to you about my fails and how I could correct this if I could go back in time, and I'm going to share those with you. So that you don't make the same mistakes that I made if you decide that you want to lime wash your stone and make it look like authentic, worn stone. So really quick, before we get into the steps for how we did this, I do want to say that all is not lost. I can still turn this fireplace stone into the stone that I had originally envisioned. It's just going to take a lot of work. So make sure you stick around until the end of the video when I'm going to talk about what I did wrong and what I would do different next time, so that you are not stuck doing the work that I'm going to end up doing to fix the problem. So step one, when you're going to get ready to put lime wash paint on your fireplace, is to make sure that you use some plastic to protect the carpet and the glass front. We did not do anything on the walls, and I think it actually is okay. And I think it's okay because we switched brushes. So again, that's something I'll talk about later in the video. Step two, after everything is protected with plastic, the next thing that we did is get the stone ready. So it's dusty, it's dirty, so we went ahead and we took a scrub brush, just a dry scrub brush, and just brushed everything. Then after we did that, we took the shop vac and tried to vacuum up everything that fell off of the stone onto the hearth. And then also I vacuumed just in between everything, like all of the grout lines. I even vacuumed on the faces of the stone. Just really wanted to make sure that we got it nice and clean. And then the third thing we did to clean the stone and get it ready to be lime washed was take that brush, take that stiff bristled brush that we used dry, and we just got it wet, and we brought a little bucket of water over and scrubbed the stone a little bit. Then after the stone was cleaned and ready to go, we followed the directions of the manufacturer of the lime wash paint that we used, and they said to wet the stone down, just really saturate it, because it's going to try to absorb all of the moisture. So the next thing you're going to want to do is prepare your lime wash paint. The manufacturing guidelines suggested doing like a 1-to-1 ratio or a 1-to-2 ratio, and starting out thicker, and then if you needed to add more water and decided you wanted it more diluted, that you could add it later on in the project. We did decide that we wanted it to be a little more diluted, so we put the first bit on, decided that was too thick, so then we started diluting the lime wash a little bit more, again because we kept in mind that we wanted it to be more of a rough, authentic, like worn look, and we didn't want it to look like it was straight painted. The other benefit with having it be a little bit more diluted was that we didn't see the brush marks as easily / at all. When we first started doing it, you could see the brush marks. So then when we diluted it down a bit, then you could not see the brush marks at all, which was more what we were looking for. So step 4, following the instructions of the manufacturer, we worked from the top down, which I definitely recommend, because you end up with like little splatters and runs that go down. And if you have the brick or the stone looking the way you want it to look, and you start at the bottom and then work your way up, you'll kind of ruin what you've already done. So work from the top down. And then we waited 30 minutes before we went back with a spray bottle of water and a clean brush and started working some of the lime wash off to give it more of that authentic worn look, where it looks like we put the lime wash on and over time it has kind of eroded and different parts of the stone have been left exposed. After we did that, we kind of started going back and forth. We would put some of the lime wash on in an area and then let it set for 30 minutes and begin the process of distressing it. But this is where my fail comes in. Okay, so now that we've gone through all of the steps for how to apply lime wash, I want to share some helpful hints that I learned along the way in case you decide that you would like to try to lime wash something in your house. Okay, so I told you that I feel like I failed in achieving the look that I was going for. And the reason I feel like I failed is because when we were applying the lime wash, we ran out of daylight and just decided that we would put it on, distress it a little bit, but not go crazy distressing it. And then in the morning when the light was better again, I could come back out here and distress it and make it look better without the shadows. But that was a really bad idea because although you can remove lime wash after it has dried, it is a very grueling experience. When I was distressing it that night at the 30-minute mark, it was like just coming off. It's just super easy, just coming right off. But now that the lime wash has dried all the way, it is very, very difficult. I've looked online and I've done a lot of research and everything says that it will come off. It's natural for it to actually erode. Like if this was outside, it would just erode over time naturally. But it's not outside, we're inside, so it's not gonna erode naturally. That means that I have to be the one eroding it, and it is just hard. I come out here with a brush or a rag, warm water or vinegar, and I scrub until my little arms are shaking, trying to get it to come off. It was not that difficult that night. So I wish, going back, I wish that I would have allotted myself more daylight hours in order for me to actually get a visual so that I could have distressed it all within that 30-minute mark when it was easier to distress. So the other thing I could have done is just like over distressed it. We could have put all the lime wash on and just over distressed it. And even though there were a bunch of shadows and dark spots and stuff, just over distress it, because you can lime wash over lime wash. You don't have to do anything to it. You just apply more lime wash. So had I done that and decided the next morning, I think I took too much of the lime wash off, then the next day I could have just mixed a little bit more lime wash with water and added it to the spots that I felt like were a little too distressed. Again, so much easier than what I'm having to do now. Another thing I would say that was helpful was we originally started out with a large masonry brush. Everything I read said to use a large masonry brush. So we went and bought one because we didn't have one. And that's what we started the project with. But it was making an absolute mess. If we were outside, I probably wouldn't have cared because it would just go wherever it wanted to go when we were outside. But we were in the house and it was splattering everywhere. We converted to a smaller brush. In doing that, one, we made less of a splatter mess everywhere. And then two, it was way easier trying to get into like the little grooves. All of that said, right, I feel like an epic failure. The fireplace stone does not look at all like I wanted it to look. It doesn't look terrible. I don't think it looks bad. I do think that coming back here and distressing it with the rag and the water and the vinegar has definitely helped. And every day that I do that, I like it better than I did before. But I'm actually surprised at how much I am not feeling negatively impacted by this particular failure. So a couple weeks ago, my husband was talking to me about something that he had heard about in a podcast. And at the end of it, he said something and it made me cry. It just really touched me as a stay-at-home mom, trying to do all the things. And I just kind of wonder if anyone else needs to hear this too. So I want to share it. Do not lose yourself. Do not sacrifice yourself for the mission. And what my husband meant when he said that to me was, we have a lot of missions going on in our house right now, right? So we just started homeschooling. We are working on being as self-sufficient as we can, just every year gaining a little bit more self-sufficiency with our garden, with our chickens. My husband was doing some research on turkeys last night, going hunting, bringing home meat that way. We have 5 rental properties and are trying to grow our real estate, and we are also doing projects at our house, and we adopted our 3rd daughter. There's a lot going on. I've mentioned this to you guys before, but in the heat of all of those things, it's so easy to lose who you are, who I am, for the sake of achieving the goal and getting to where I'm trying to go. And I think it's easy to do that. I don't think I'm the only one. I've heard many of my friends say that they have experienced the same thing. In this fast-paced world that we live in, keeping up with the Joneses and all the things. And so that night when my husband said to me that he did not want me to lose myself for the sake of the mission, I just started bawling, because that is a battle that I have been waging within myself since I became a mom. Since I became a mother, I have been trying to not lose sight of who God created me to be and the things that God has just wired inside of me for who I am. They are not things that have to be, that have to go away now because I'm a mom, because we're doing home projects, because we have real estate, because we're doing homeschool, because we're doing the garden and the chickens and the turkeys. Like those things don't have to mean that we sacrifice who God has called us to be for the sake of the mission. And so it really touched me. It was really encouraging to me to hear him say that. And I want to say that to you. I don't know what your missions are. I don't know what you're going through in your life, but I want you to know that you have not been called to sacrifice who God created you to be for the sake of achieving the goal, for the sake of the mission. You were created to be who you are for a purpose. So, next step for our fireplace makeover is the mantle. So I told you guys in the last video that we are going to be able to do the barn beam mantle. We are taking the barn beam up to my husband's father's house. He is going to help us clean it up and cut it down, and then we will bring it back and install it. So I'm really excited to see what the whole fireplace looks like when we get it completely done. Make sure you watch the next video to see the full reveal of what our fireplace looks like after we have the mantle on.